rest of the evidence, puts it in a book form. But as you were saying, yes, this one person was offered $50,000 by Courtney Love. She pulled up in a limo in front of the rock shop in Los Angeles, got out of the car and said, Duce, I'll offer you $50,000 to blow my old man's head off, quote unquote. And anybody could come forward with outrageous allegations like that, try to get their 15 minutes of fame, but he did pass a polygraph with the highest accuracy rate possible with the world's leading polygraph examiner.
So then he tells he tells everyone that this Alan Wrench guy did it. And when we come back, we'll find out what happened to Eldon Hope, who also ends up dead, and what Alan Wrench said to you in a moment.
Well, we're not going to sit here and speculate, but this is Hank Harris's Love Kills, read to you by Bradley Dahlberg, The Assassination of Kurt Cobain. And because these chapters are so much shorter, I think we're going to read just maybe 1 to 3 at a time until it starts to get a little bit more beefiness. Starting out with a note to all the readers, it took 22 years to get this book out. It isn't a project. I interviewed about 120 people in several countries, and most of them only speak to me if I promise to keep them anonymous. People are afraid of the reprisals. My sources are real and protected by the First Amendment. The book is not simply based on my opinions. If you'd like to suggest improvements, please do. Thanks to the hundreds of selfless friends and strangers who help in many ways, each of you acknowledged in my heart. In Memoria, to Leland Cobain, Edith Velma Cook, and Shay, Bean, Gabe, Harrison, and Grace. Also, I'd like to dedicate this book to the most beautiful woman in the world named Etoile Rosebeck Costa for buying this for me as a gift. Totally appreciate you in a million more ways that you could ever understand. Chapter 1. Letter to Bada. He was a wise father that knows his own child. Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice, 2.273. Kurt Cobain was a political firebrand. He used his music to lead millions of young people into direct action, and he was uncompromising in that pursuit. He was 100% sure about his motives, but he had a vision. He rejected wealth and power. He made chumps out of people who don't like being embarrassed by kids from the sticks. He did not trust big shots. For this, he was assassinated, and it's a complex story. Potheads and junkies don't usually hang around together. That's why the Cobain's music was so hard for me to grasp at first. But Kurt always was on smack when he wrote his songs or played his music, so I listened and I finally heard it. The kid was a savant, like Mozart. Even Kurt didn't know how smart he was. He felt smart in our acidic culture. It takes time longer than 30 years to come out. At first he wrote music for 16-year-olds prancing around in the slightly beat Land Rovers and the Hondas they inherited from their folks. They listened, danced, moshed, got stoned, and only a few heard the deeper mantra. About 2 months before Kurt died, I discovered that Linda Reese, Courtney Love's mother, and my ex-wife was going to write a book for the Doubleday, and that she found her biological mother, who turned out to be Paula Fox, in Brooklyn. Great-Grandma Fox is by way a genius and highly decorated author of several bestsellers. When Kurt and Courtney got married, and especially when Francis was born, I thought, oh boy, my son-in-law is a savant too. Now we have a whole family of gifted people. That was my state of mind when Kurt died. Then reality struck. Then the silence. Note. In 2010, via Facebook, I found my biological son, so my heart goes out to Linda. I know how she must have felt coming to closure knowing her mother is a major genius and not Italian. I feel the same about my son, who turned out to be one of the most amazing jobs anyone could ever have anywhere. A really nice wife with 4 kids, and funny how smart that works. And I've been around rock stars. And mock stars too. Most of my adult life I had no choice. My college chums all became rock stars, and my kid felt it was her destiny to follow the trend. So when Cobain came along, I had the tools in which to judge him. Just by observing him in the media, I could tell that Kurt valued money about as much as he valued Monopoly tokens. It was a game to him. Boring game at that. To Kurt, money was a chump change of life, and you need to do good things, but the ugly side is that people equate it to power and fame. And he knew both things would flow from the same rusty pipe. Big shots worship money. To them it's God. But if Kurt were here, if he knew this current address, I would tell him to be careful when he shows disdain for the money God, the one Ginsburg called Moloch. Kicking the money to the curb is okay as long as you live in a cave. That's where Cobain went off track. He was only disdained for money. He founded the Prologues. Kurt wrote poetry and music and made music videos about corruption of power. Like post-industrialist painter, the muralist of the WPA, he joined the union and had no love for the moguls. But he signed the contract with the moguls, who were the Mongols on a bone. Cobain projected images to continue and grab people, and in this society, if you do that, you get a big target put on your back. In The Warrior of the World, American bestsellers, is encouraged to be beat the shit out of by his or her opponent and scribble at the same time. Isn't it good enough to get published? You have to be a cripple, the other guy, if you can do that. They want Sunday punchers like Norman Mailer and Kerouac. Tough machoism boys who can write down in blood other people's blood. Kurt Cobain was a true warrior poet till he saw the deeper truth. He realized that Hollywood was just stupid. That's when somebody decided he needed a short course in killing. But whoever killed him made mistakes, ghoulish errors left behind like crumbs in a Hansel and Gretel story. Cobain's so-called suicide note was not a goodbye to cruel world letter to the world. It was a note saying to his fans that he was going to go into hiding and get away from a succubus that was stalking him. This letter was addressed to the imaginary childhood friend, an elfin figure named Bada. From the beginning of the slushing through the crash pads in Olympia, Cobain didn't care much about anything. A classic beat existentialist, but he grew into his fame suit. He realized he could do good things.